What happens when Africa says no to one of the biggest deals in history? So, why is this moment so different from all the others? To answer that, we have to go back to the roots of Africa's long struggle against exploitation. This isn't just another negotiation, it's a historic standoff with everything at stake. If Africa gives in now, another generation could be lost to poverty and foreign control. But if these leaders succeed, they could rewrite the global balance of power and finally turn Africa's wealth into prosperity for its own people. Picture this. France arrives in West Africa with a jaw-dropping offer, $500 billion on the table for control of uranium reserves. For decades, these mineral-rich lands have powered European cities, while African communities struggled in the shadow of poverty. But this time, the answer is not a handshake, it's a barricade. Let's unravel how Africa's resources became both its greatest curse and its greatest weapon, and why this new unity might finally break the cycle. For decades, French wealth glowed, while African villages stayed in the dark. The alliance of Sahel states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, stands shoulder to shoulder, forging an unprecedented wall of resistance. Their message is clear. Africa's resources are not up for sale, no matter how high the foreign bid. In packed capitals from Ouagadougou to Bamako and Niamey, the crowds chant, "Uranium for Africa," rejecting the old script of dependency and exploitation. Wealth flowed north, poverty remained south. These countries supplied the raw power that fueled France, but the return was a handful of jobs, crumbling roads, and deals struck on foreign terms. The real profit never touched African soil. Families in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso watched generation after generation toil while their countries remained among the world's poorest. Schools lacked electricity, hospitals struggled, and entire villages fell further behind, even as French companies grew fat on Africa's minerals. In the heart of West Africa, beneath the endless Sahel skies, lay riches that powered a European dream. France extracted uranium and other precious resources from these lands, paying mere fractions of their true value. Parisian lights burned bright, reactors thrived, and fortunes grew. But back in the Sahel, millions lived without reliable power or opportunity, trapped in the shadow of abundance that was never theirs. But a seismic shift is underway. The alliance of Sahel states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, has formed, united by a single mission, to keep Africa's resources for Africans. For the first time, these nations stand together, determined to break the cycle of dependency that has defined their relationship with France for almost a century. But this time, the stakes are higher, and the response from Africa is unlike anything France expected. Paris expected a handshake. They got a wall of steel. If nothing changes, another generation will grow up knowing that their land is rich, but their communities remain poor. The cycle of poverty and underdevelopment will continue, and France will keep writing its future on the backs of African labor. But on the streets of Ouagadougou, Bamako, and Niamey, the message is clear. This time, things are different. The response was swift and electrifying, declared Captain Traoré, his words echoing through the corridors of power and across the continent. The statement was not just a refusal, but a rebuke, a defiant line drawn against centuries of exploitation and humiliation. The meeting was anything but ceremonial. There were no red carpets, no polished speeches. The French presented their staggering offer, $500 billion for the rights to the alliance of Sahel states uranium. But alongside the money came strings. France would control the mines, dictate prices, and hold sway over the region's future. France arrived in West Africa with its top diplomats, beaming with confidence and bearing golden contracts worth $500 billion. The French delegation landed, expecting eager partners and a swift signature. Instead, they found three leaders, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Tuita of Mali, and General Abdurrahman Tiani of Niger, waiting in military fatigues, their faces set and their resolve unbreakable. In that moment, the leaders of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger stood as one. The deal was rejected outright. No more colonial contracts. No more trading away the dignity of their nations for paper promises. The message was clear. Africa's resources would remain in African hands. Yet, for the first time in decades, the balance of power had shifted. The world watched in shock as Africa's new alliance refused to bow, determined to carve out its own destiny regardless of the cost. But for the alliance of Sahel states, turning their backs on France was only the beginning. What came next would reveal their bold new strategy to reclaim Africa's wealth and future. This was more than a business decision. It was a historic gamble. Accepting the offer would have meant sacrificing economic freedom for generations to come. Rejecting it risked French retaliation, diplomatic isolation, and the hardship that often follows when a powerful nation is defied. Can Africa really walk alone and win? That is the question electrifying the continent right now, as the alliance of Sahel states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger unveils a counterplan that could change everything. Their plan is radical but simple. Revenues from uranium will go directly into electrifying towns, training teachers, and building clinics. For the first time, millions could see the value of their own resources fueling their daily lives, not just statistics in a distant capital. The world is watching. Other African nations, long trapped by similar deals, are eyeing the AES experiment with a mix of hope and caution. If these three states can pull it off, it could spark a wave of resource revolutions, ending centuries of dependency. Meanwhile, Western powers watch nervously, measuring their next steps. Instead of letting another $500 billion slip away into offshore accounts, the AES alliance is betting on something never tried at this scale in West Africa: joint extraction, processing, and marketing of uranium, managed by Africans for Africans. For decades, uranium lit up European cities, while African villages stayed in darkness. This time, the leaders promise that the wealth from their land will power their own homes, fund real schools, and build hospitals, not pad foreign bank accounts. AES is not going it entirely alone. Behind the scenes, partnerships are being forged with countries across Asia, Latin America, and within Africa itself. The new deals are not about quick cash, but about trading uranium and other resources for technology, infrastructure, and know-how. The goal: leapfrog old models of extraction and build lasting prosperity. So what can the world, and especially Africa, learn from this uprising against an old empire? The future of the continent may well depend on the answer, but the road ahead is anything but certain. Let's look closer at what needs to happen now, and what could still go wrong. But this bold move is not without danger. If the alliance succeeds, it could inspire a continent-wide reckoning, a call for economic justice and sovereignty that echoes far beyond uranium. But if it fails, the risks are enormous. Economic isolation, harsh retaliation, or simply swapping one form of dependency for another. The stakes could not be higher. What does it take to break chains that have held for centuries? For the alliance of Sahel states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the answer is unity, courage, and a clear refusal to accept deals that exchange true wealth for short-term gain. Instead of trading away their uranium for quick cash, AES is building a new model for resource control. Here, the future is not sold off for profit, but invested into local ownership, infrastructure, schools, and hospitals, foundations that can truly lift entire societies. This path is not easy. Turning down billions today means facing real hardship in the short run. But the leaders of AES understand that real sovereignty and dignity are worth the sacrifice. They are choosing the hard road so that one day their children and all of Africa can stand tall and independent. This bold move sends a powerful signal to the global South. The cycle of dependency is not unbreakable. Nations can say no to unfair contracts, control their destiny, and invest in their own people, even if it means enduring pressure from powerful outsiders. Now, as the dust settles, the world is watching. Will this stand spark a new era for Africa? Or will the old powers find a way to reassert control? If others follow the Sahel's example, the global map of wealth and power could be redrawn. The fate of billions from Latin America to Southeast Asia could shift as more countries reject old patterns of exploitation. In the next chapter, we reveal the global reaction, the shockwaves in Paris, the whispers in Washington, and how this standoff is forcing the world to rethink Africa's place in the future. When a continent stands up, the world must listen. This is not just a deal. It is the birth cry of a new era where Africa refuses to be a silent supplier for someone else's prosperity. By turning down France's immense offer, the Sahel Alliance draws a line that echoes through global corridors of power. What we are witnessing is more than a resource standoff. It is a declaration that Africa's future will be shaped by its own hands. Millions are watching, not just across the continent, but around the world. As history pivots at this crossroads, justice and opportunity hang in the balance. This is a signal to every nation. The age of silent extraction is over. Africa has risen to claim its place on the world stage, and the ripple effects will be felt everywhere. Change is overdue. If the world ignores this moment, the cycle of old injustices will simply find new disguises, and Africa's wealth will keep slipping through invisible fingers. But if this act of unity and resistance is seized, it could light the way for generations, showing the global South that true independence is possible when voices join together.